The 2023 elections are fast approaching, with aspirants for the position of the president making wild consultations and moving from one part of the country to the other, seeking support from major stakeholders. Two key areas that will play a key role in the decision by the electorate will be what the aspirants will do to improve the economy and solve security problems. The issue of zoning has also been another talking point, with a clamor for a president from the southern part of the country being one of the demands by some stakeholders in Nigeria, while some others feel where the next president emerges from shouldn't be a criterion for selection. Nigerians will surely be looking forward to seeing how this knotty issue will be resolved. As we gear up for what will be an interesting election year, the rising insecurity in Nigeria is something that could mar the elections come 2023, with every region in the country experiencing its fair share of the problem. Even the offices of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has also been hit a number of times by unidentified armed men, which left many citizens questioning if they will be ready to conduct the elections. Joining us on the show as we discuss the political economy ahead of 2023 elections and the rising insecurity in the Southeast and other parts of the country is Osita Chidoka, former Aviation Minister and a member of the People's Democratic Party. Welcome to the show, Osita. Good to see you again.
Very good to see you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, quickly, let's start with your reading of the political situation in the country at this moment. Earlier on, we were discussing the French presidential elections. And one of the points that came out of our conversation was that, look, what they have done in France is to have an issue-oriented, issue-dominated, issue-driven, ideas-driven electoral process. But here in Nigeria, we seem to be bogged down by other considerations. If you check some of these presidential aspirants, you don't know where they stand on security challenges. You don't know whether they know the difference between economic terms and some other terms. It's all about consensus. It's about zoning. But what's your own reading? Don't let me impose my bias on you.
Well, what you point out is really a major challenge in Nigeria. The idea that our political class have not been able to migrate to issues-based politics. But that is because of the nature of the Nigerian state. We are still questioning the idea of Nigeria. So fundamentally, if you go to the streets of Nigeria and you conduct a poll, you will find out that there are many people questioning whether indeed the idea of a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country is the pathway for Nigeria's future. So building the Nigerian state is actually where we are today. In France, as you pointed out, you could see that if you put the vote of Le Pen and the man that came third, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Mélenchon, you could see the number of votes that is. That is to say that the French are questioning the idea of the philosophy of the French society. They are questioning the idea of fraternité. They are asking for a nationalist, nativist government. But also, France has constructed a middle ground, and that middle ground is where Macron stays. And he's able to show by his 58-42 votes. And Le Pen has been making progress every election, starting from her father, who got only less than 8% of the votes. So the problem is that around the world, people are in this turmoil, where rightist, populist governments are in. In Nigeria, the question is the idea of the Nigerian nation. So now, because that is the question, anything about the economy, about how to run Nigeria, is almost like it's secondary to the idea that I want to feel as a member and part of this country. So I think that what is at stake today is that politician, that leadership that can construct a new middle ground. And unfortunately, the kind of president we need in 2023 has to come in 2023 very much like the Buhari of 2015. He has to carry the trust of Nigerians. If in 2015 Buhari had said to Nigerians, let's remove the fuel subsidy, and it is now free in the market, I'm sure many Nigerians will have said, if this is what we needed to do, we can do it. He has eroded the trust and confidence Nigerians gave him in 2015. But sadly, in 2023, we need a president who Nigerians will trust that he needs to fix our foreign exchange mess, he needs to fix our debt crisis, he needs to put a freeze on further increases in many expenditure heads to be able to get the country again back on track. 10 years of work is required to reverse these 8 years of massive degradation of Nigeria's economy and the ties that bind Nigeria. So that's why I feel that this election is more or less not giving the opportunity for people to have conversations about Nigeria's economy, but conversations about whether Nigeria as a nation has started the march to nationhood. So which is why the zoning, and particularly the people in the South are saying zoning to the South, and very specifically zoning to the Southeast. Because when you say South, it becomes an amorphous entity. When the Southwest has been president for 8 years, vice president for 8 years, and want to be president again, that poses in itself a problem to the idea of zoning. So if we're going to zone, then it has to be to those who haven't been able to get to the presidency. But if you say to the South, then what's the purpose? There's no need. It could well go back to the Northeast, to the Northwest. It doesn't matter if the idea of zoning is that the person with the muscle in any region will take it, and there's no basis for zoning.
Right. So what is your reaction then to this news about the consensus candidates? There are two that have emerged from the North. Governor, I see you smiling there already, Governor Bello Muhammad and former Governor, former Senate President Bukola Saraki, who got the okay as far as former Head of State Babangida is concerned, as well as Ango Abdullahi of the Northern Elders Forum. Obviously, that has ruffled some feathers in the person of Governor of Sokoto, Aminu Tambuwal. But what exactly is your reaction to that in itself, that development, and the fact that it does appear that your party, PDP, has not ruled out the possibility of a presidential candidate from the North? We've had the zoning committee give their report, but we haven't heard a confirmation from your party. What would you like to say to your party now on this issue of zoning to the Southeast specifically, or throwing the contest open?
Okay, so let me start with the Northern Zoning Consensus candidate. It just goes to prove what I have told everybody about Nigeria. The idea of consensus candidate has been tried several times in the North without any effect. Some time ago, it was Atiku and some people that did the consensus. He won, and he didn't become president at that time. Now it is Bukola Saraki, Tambuwal, and Bala Mohammed. So whenever people say to me, the Southeast needs to present a candidate to become president of Nigeria, that we need to come together, I've always gotten back. I say, which region of Nigeria had ever come together to produce a candidate? The fact that they couldn't produce a candidate by the Northern Consensus, that they said 2 people are consensus. How does consensus go to 2 people? It has to go to 1 person. The fact that they couldn't do it goes to prove the point that politics is a context, it's a process of mobilization and getting people together. Whoever will be a president of Nigeria is more likely not able to be president if he's a candidate of a zone. Buhari tried for 12 years as a candidate of the North. He couldn't leave the North. He was stuck in the North until he made he pivoted to the Southwest and got a new consensus that gave him a national appeal. What makes you popular to your zone tends to make you distrusted by other zones in Nigeria. So there is no basis for that kind of conversation. What I've always argued about the Igbo presidency is that the rest of Nigeria should choose the Igbo man of their choice. It is not for the Igbos to give you a candidate. Whoever we give you will not be acceptable to the rest of the country. They will find a reason why the man is either too Igbo in his behavior or being controlled by forces in Igbo land. When Obasanjo became president, he was roundly rejected in the Southwest, but the rest of the country chose him. When we chose Yar'Adua, he didn't win some of the key states in the North. Even President Shagari, I keep reminding young people that the idea of 12 to 3rd, when they argued up to Supreme Court, the state that was in question was Kanu. Shagari didn't make 25% of the votes cast in Kanu because Aminu Kanu was on that ballot. He didn't win in Borno. He won in Cross River Rivers, Benue, Kwara, and then Niger, Sokoto, and Bauchi. So the idea that you will be a Nigerian's president, Igbos, please come together. The idea of zoning is if you zone to this, if it's zoned to the Southeast, the rest of the country will make up their mind. Whether they want a Senator Pius Anyim, who has knowledge of the presidency, who was in secretary to government, or they want Peter Obi, who brings to the table his frugal financial management skills and his record of governance in Anambra, or they want Governor Mahi, who they believe has done a lot of infrastructural projects in his state, or even they want Obonnionu from APC. It is the rest of the country that will make that decision. Igbo votes cannot make him president. So the idea of consensus is dead on arrival. In 2019, we zoned to the north. There were 12 candidate aspirants from the north in Port Harcourt, 12. We met all night trying to get them for some to step down, to reduce the number. None of them agreed to step down. It didn't mean that the North was in disarray. It just means that political contest is that people feel, I have something to offer, you present yourself, and then the public make their choice. So I think that the PDP is in a dilemma. They have a great dilemma. The dilemma is that the only zoning they can do now is to zone to the southeast. Anything short of zoning to the southeast, there cannot be zoning. Two mistakes have been made. One was that the Southeast argument for zoning, we ought to have heightened that heat sometime like in the 2021 timeframe. I maybe say the COVID experience and all that may have impacted on us, but we needed to have increased that heat for the party to have taken that decision like we took for the North 2 years before the election. So everybody from other zone who wants to run can go to another party, can form another party, but we'll know that PDP had zoned. 6 months to an election, now 1 month to an election to zone, PDP is now in a dilemma. How do we tell people that have bought the form not to participate in the primaries? So they are really caught in a quandary. But the truth of the matter is that the question before the country is to decide whether the Southeast is a critical part of Nigeria and has become an accepted part of our nation. If so, there is no basis for anybody to argue that you cannot zone to the southeast, neither in APC or PDP. When we zoned to the southwest, PDP did not win in the southwest. We got less than 10% of the 15% of the votes in the southwest in 1999. So not being able to get votes in southeast does not preclude APC from doing what is right, which is building national consensus. We have to build this nation. Once we build this nation, if the two parties present two Igbo candidates, I can tell you, the question will now be, what do these people have to offer to the country? The argument will shift from where they come from to what they have to bring to the table. But once we default our fault lines of a southern and northern presidency, then the argument changes. The conversation becomes almost a case of identity politics. So I think it is in the best interest of the country to continue that tradition. 1999, two Yoruba people, we chose the Yoruba man we wanted. 2007, two Northerners, we chose the Northerner we wanted, President Yar'Adua. In 2011, that trajectory broke, unfortunately, because of the death of President Yar'Adua. And I'm saying that the time has come for us to revert back to it, because in 2019, we went back to it, two Northerners. We presented them, and the Nigerians chose the Northerner they wanted. So this is the time to present two Igbo people. Let the Nigerians choose the Igbo man they want. Let the argument be about their competence and what they are bringing to the table.
So a lot of people will say, yes, simplicity, I mean, it should be straight off the bat like that. But the argument some other people are making is going back to that 2011.
Yes.
That by saying, why did Goodluck Jonathan campaign? That it was that 2011, it should have gone back to the North. It shouldn't have been on that ballot. And now it is until they emerge that they will feel justice has been done. I mean, that's the argument being enunciated by the Atiku Abubakar camp and the likes. What do you say? So what do you say about that argument?
So that argument is, I've heard it many times, and I've argued back to say, listen, in 2011, President Jonathan was a sitting vice president and had become an acting president. And he ran for presidency. At that time, what has happened is that the South-South region had then gotten their share of the zoning. So what we did in 2019 in PDP was to say, okay, in 2011, we breached that accord because there was a sitting vice president. If Nigerian state had listened to the presentation of the Igbo delegates to the 1995 Constitutional Conference, where Ekweme argued that for there to be zoning, we need to have two vice presidents, one from the region of the president in office and one from the other region. In the event of the demise of the president, the one from the president's region will take over. The military, in a moment of exercise of their power in 1999, General Abubakar struck out the issue of 2 vice presidents, struck out the issue of single term, which said for 30 years, transitional period, we will allow the presidency to go through the 6 geopolitical zones, after which we will now make it open. Whoever runs will win. Guess what? The 30 years is just about to end. We will have just gone through this. So the military, in their own wisdom, and for whatever reason...
It's just 23 years now.
No, in 1995,
okay, 1995.
when they took that decision. Okay. Yes, I said that at Abacha's conference. So now, even if you take the 23 years, we're just 7 years away to the 30 years. It will have been over. So for me, the point is that when we didn't take that decision to have a vice president from the president's zone, this issue reared its head. Our constitutional amendments, which we did to say presidents cannot stay away for a certain number of period of time without handing over to the vice president, to cure the problem of the Yaradua Goodluck problem. We should also try to amend our constitution to cure that problem of, if zoning is part of our national culture, how do we make it that when a president passes in office, his zone retains that office to cure that anomaly? And I think that's the sensible thing to be discussing. If PDP had not given power back to the North in 2019, then the argument will have been valid. If we had said in 2019, well, we are throwing it open. But in 2019, we zoned it to the North and said, we are continuing from where we stopped after President Jonathan. And the North has ruled Nigeria for 8 years now. And my argument is that it is also necessary that the political parties zone again. Why should we zone in the first instance? My argument is that Nigeria cured a major problem with the presidential system of government. In 1966-65, the Northern People's Congress won 162 seats in an election that the whole Eastern region boycotted. And yet, Zik went ahead to call Tafawa Balewa to form the government. When he was called to form the government, what he promised was that he would do a constitutional amendment to make sure the country is integrated. The election of the Eastern region was now done March the following year. So mind you, if it was today, Northern People's Congress would not have been registered by his name, because the new constitution says you cannot be a regional party. If it was today, Northern People's Congress would not have formed the government, because you require 2/3 of the votes cast in at least 1/3 of the votes cast in at least 24 states. This was the argument that was done to cure the problem of 1965. So now that we have a problem, we can cure the problem by instituting these 2 vice president structure that will make sure that the president from a zone, if he passes, his zone continues in office.
But for you to do that, you have to amend the constitution.
Which we have done several times.
Accordingly, but yes. This idea, about having 2 vice presidents, you have to amend the constitution.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Amending the constitution.
So, that's not feasible between now and the 2023.
No, it's not. It's not feasible, but I'm talking about a long-term solution to that problem.
Okay, yes. Maybe a long term.
Yes.
And secondly, you're saying that the 2 major political parties should present 2 Igbo candidates as presidential candidates. Well, if you look at what is happening in the APC and also even in the PDP, it also doesn't look like that is going to happen for these 2023 elections. So if in 2023 we do not have an Igbo president, what do you think will be the implications?
So the implication is that the conversation about our nation will continue in much more dramatic terms. Every time you don't create the middle in a society like Nigeria, what you do is that you create the room for the people in the fringes to gain more adherents. Nigeria will constantly be challenged. Like even the United States, people are still questioning the issues about its constitution. People are still questioning whether California should be part of the US or not. But the fact that the middle is large enough, that the country has consensus on key issues, that the country is creating a middle ground that allowed a person like Barack Obama to be president. The fact that in France, an unknown party, a new party could come to power from Macron shows you what happens when a country creates a center. The Nigerian political elite must create that center, that middle ground, where Nigerians of all ethnic groups will coalesce and say the price of the benefits of being a Nigerian far outweighs the benefits of breaking up the country or of any right-wing political organization. But what is happening now is that every time we stick to our guns, every time we say no to that building of the middle ground, we are expanding the fringe organizations. They are growing every day. I was in the East last weekend, and I took out time to see some police officers. One of them told me, he said, he doesn't go to work again in his uniform. He finds new routes to go to work. He's a divisional police officer. He says he has 50-something men. Only about 14 can come to work on any day. How does he stay when people that are 40 are coming to attack his police station? So they go to work every day thinking about escape route from the office, thinking about how to survive for the day. Now he tells me that his greatest fear now is for his family. So that he hasn't been able to take a decision about criminality because at the end of the day after work, he has to go home and he lives within the community. He doesn't live in a barracks. So he can't take a decision and stay within the barracks where he's protected. He has to go back to that society where everybody lives, where the people can say, DPO is back home. So he is constantly now afraid of his own life as an individual. He's worried about his family. A second police officer that I spoke to, whose father was a police commissioner, he just left the country. He said he can't continue. That every day is tension. He just can't continue. He can't continue being at the state of war without the necessary equipment to fight that war. Because how do you have a police station with 14, 15 police officers at a duty when the unknown gunmen will come in 40, 50 numbers? I mean, it's not possible. So we need to detonate these, what I call these stressors that is stressing the nation. We need to detonate them and then begin to rebuild our infrastructure to be able to combat them. They won't come to the table willingly if there is no sign that the middle has increased and that the people have stopped offering them some kind of protection. So I believe that when the country comes together and decides to build this middle, we are going to keep expanding that middle, that the fringe organizations will lose their fuel. They currently are getting fuel from all this positioning, from all this conversation. The Buhari years has done a lot in damaging what holds this country together. And I think that the time has come for us to make that quantum leap to building a nation where no man is oppressed. And it's something that, whenever I think about it, I'm just wondering, who do we want to rule? We can't go to Kaduna from Abuja. We can't go to Zamfara. We can't go to the southeast. We can't go through Lokoja. So are we going to be ruling Nigeria from Lagos and Abuja? Even in Port Harcourt, we are now talking about illegal refineries and stealing of oil. So the Nigerian state is not even able to control its major source of income. So what type of Nigeria are we going to be running? It is just important that at this time, we make that quantum leap to saying, let us build a nation. Let's continue that process. The process started in 1999. It helped us douse the tension in the southwest. It helped us douse the tension in the north. It should help us douse the tension in the middle belt and in the southeast. We need to get to that point.
Well, that's a sort of long-term outline that you've given to how to get this genie of really condemnable violence back in the bottle. But in the short term, what are your thoughts? Because the actual possibility of having elections in 2023 in the Southeast, that can't be taken for granted at this point. Yes. I'm sure you're aware of the attacks on the INEC office where a gentleman was murdered in cold blood. How do we ensure that elections actually happen in 2023?
Well, the immediate thinking in my mind is that the whole idea of the army trying to control local insurgency, internal insurgency, is a wrong strategy. The military has no such training to battle in internal insurgency. They are trained to kill, destroy enemies, external aggression, and challenge to the Nigerian state. Now, what I think is that in the immediate, we need to, reduce the rhetoric. We need to rebuild our security architecture. And I'll give you an example. A police officer who is an AIG in Nigerian police today knows with certainty that with this government in office, if he's from the southwest, from the southeast, from Benue, he's not likely to become the Inspector General of Police. Why do you want him to die for Nigeria? Why? He knows that he's the best police officer from Nigeria's police academy is nowhere near becoming in the course that this current IG comes from. Let them show us the list of the best officers in there when they passed out of the academy. They're nowhere to be found near the rank of DIG and AIG. Why do you want him to die for the country? So my question is, my point is that what we need to do in the immediate, for me, is one, get the political leaders to lower the tension, to de-stress, to de-escalate the tension in the various regions, particularly in the southeast. Part of that de-escalation is that while the government is going to try Nnamdi Kanu for all the offenses or offense he has committed, there is also need to engage with him in conversation. Despite what the FARC people did in Colombia, despite what ETA did in Spain, they were engaged in conversations that led to de-escalation, demobilization, and demilitarization. So we need to have that conversation. And I think that conversation needs to happen, immediately. So, because now I'm no more sure that the IPOB is in control of the violence in the southeast. I don't more hear about criminals anymore. Everybody now is some kind of freedom fighter in the southeast. And meanwhile, criminality is going on. So that conversation needs to be had. I mean, you can't have that conversation without putting them in the mix. Second one is that we need a special police force. A special police force that have the capability to gather his own intelligence, attack, and force whoever is the militant to come to negotiation table. Because without equal violence, without equal state monopolization of violence, nobody will willingly come to the table. In the Northwest, the same thing applies. They are holding large swaths of area in the Northwest now. It is important that we show some strength in stemming them, because the way they attacked the train station in Kaduna and the airport shows me that these are no more just bandits doing cattle rustling. These are now very intelligent and very skilled terrorists. They know that an attack on transport infrastructure is one way to scare away people from a country. So attacking a transport infrastructure has been the tactics of ETA, the Basque separatists, the FARC people, attacking trains and all of that, because it is one thing that gets you global news, and it's one thing that makes international operators to withdraw from a country. So we cannot allow that to continue. The activities of the military, they are tired. They have been in the northeast now for almost 12 years. So we need to rejig that approach to be able to get them to at least come to the table if they have an issue that needs to come to the table. Otherwise, we can look at all that has happened in other countries. All the militant groups have one day, even the IRA came up one day and said, okay, we're going to come to peace table. We're going to bring back our guns.
But a lot of people still argue with you, and I'm excited you talked about the Escodita Takatasuna, ETA, and the likes. A lot of people will still argue with you that with groups like that, it's different because, let's take, for instance, the case of Italy, the Red Brigade. It was until they killed Aldo Moro, former prime minister, that the state cracked down on them with a lot of violence. It was a crackdown, and it ended the Red Brigade. So they'll say, yeah, apart from the negotiations, why is it that the Nigerian state does not have the monopoly? And if you're saying create a special police force, we've had forces, we've had the military, an elite unit in there. We've had intelligence gathering. We've had everything being deployed. We don't have state police, but we can't seem to solve the problem. And we've also had the cases of regular complaints of complicity in all of this. So it is more on the state. That's what a lot of people are saying now. That the state has not done the need. In fact, the National Security Advisor came on television and admitted complicity in the security forces. National Security Advisor. So what do you say to that?
So it goes back to my point. Me and you know that if you go to a police station today, you will need to buy your own foolscap sheet to write your statement. Don't you know that? Don't you know that if you are detained in the police today and you have malaria, you have to buy your own medicine? In fact, the person that reported you have to bring money to buy medicine so that the police can get you anti-malaria medicine. They have no budget for it. The police budget for fuel, and I use that argument because I have managed the Federal Road Safety Corps. The police budget for fuel translates to like 1 liter a day for their vehicles and for all their police stations in the country. Me and you know that if you have a police orderly with you, given by the police, you have to give him money to buy bullets. That the police does not supply him bullets. Don't you know that Nigeria's elite are buying bullets for their police? That they're buying bulletproof vests for their police? All these police you see with Nigeria's elite are not getting any bullets from the police force. They are buying it. They know that there's a black market for bullets in Lagos, in Onitsha, in Enugu. There's a black market for police. The Nigerian state has no capacity. The capacity had been weakened over time. It's not a blame I put on just the APC. It is a capacity that has been weakened over time. One of the things I've always pointed out is every time Nigerian says we have high recurrent expenditure, I said, no, we don't have high recurrent expenditure. We have high personnel expenditure. We hire high salaries. Because we hire people without the requisite money for the work that they're hired for to be done. So you hire 100 police officers and you put them in a police station and they have 1 vehicle. How is that going to happen? Don't you know that Nigerian police officers buy their own uniform? Are you not aware that Nigerian security officers use MTN modem for internet to send emails in the DSS, in NIA, that they're using modem, that they have no secured platform of communication? Don't you know that? Don't you know that the Federal Executive Council, that the memos that are written and typed in the office of the Cabinet Secretariat have no secured communication?
They're sent at yahoo.com?
Yes, you go there now and check. I reported it about 3 times to President Jonathan when I was in office. I said, anytime I go to a meeting, everybody is presenting at Gmail, at Yahoo, at this. From security forces. The Nigerian state needs to rebuild capacity. To rebuild that capacity is not something that will happen overnight.
Okay. You talked about creating a middle.
Yes.
Beyond the fringes, a center where all these centrifugal forces can be resolved. But some other people will say, you need a certain level of consensus, elite consensus.
Yes.
It's not the market women or the ordinary people that will come out for that. Do you see the Nigerian elite so prebendal, so self-serving, coming to that middle ground to form that consensus? Because that's really the problem. We don't have that critical mass. People come up with labels, but they have their own clandestine motives. And that's why you find all this confusion over zoning, consensus. It's all about individual or group or religious interest. Do you think we'll ever get that elite consensus?
So, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have said it is difficult. But today, I think there is a basis for creating that consensus. You see, the consensus that was created in June 12, 1993 was because after many months of years of shenanigans by the Babangida administration, the political class decided enough is enough. You have banned, unbanned us, and this, we need to come together and get somebody to get you out. So the June 12 election, contrary to every expectation, happened very peacefully across the country. People voted across ethnic lines just to get the military out. Where we are today is almost akin to that. What country do you want to govern? Which country? If you're in Abuja, Buhari cannot go to Kaduna by road. He can't unless he deploys all the military forces in Abuja to go by road. The military generals that teach in the Defense Academy in Kaduna, they all go by train to Kaduna. Now people are flying to Kano and driving by road to Kano, to Kaduna. So the country that we're in now, even the elites, after the accumulation of the wealth, after everybody has taken the money, because it's interesting to me that all the people that are running for president who are ready to pay 100 million or 47 million, many of them are serving political officers who we know their salaries. So we know that it is just not on. The country they are going to rule is going to be Abuja and Lagos. And what will worsen it is that the Niger Delta oil theft will continue to grow. So very soon, they won't even have the resources. I mean, this morning I heard the federal government is out again for another Euro bond. They're looking to raise another Euro bond. So they have to keep raising Euro bonds because the dollars is just not there. The country is in a crisis. The debt of the federal government to the central bank is unbelievable. The local debt of the government is above all our thresholds. We have a revenue challenge today. So even if you are president today, for you to be able to convince Nigerians that fuel, which sells for 600 naira across our neighbors and is 165 naira in Nigeria, makes it that anybody who gets one trailer of fuel and takes it across the border is already a millionaire. So that country that existed where the elites are thinking, let's go and keep sharing, I'm saying that that party is over. In 2023, it is going to be difficult for the elites to walk around outside of Lagos and Abuja until when they get down to Abuja. So there is an urgent need for everybody to realize, even the ones we have taken, the ones we have either stolen, the ones we have packed in foreign accounts, for us to spend it, we need to restore some order in Nigeria. They cannot spend it in Nigeria in 2023. So what we need now is, and that elite consensus is being forced by the forces across. If we can't agree on that center, then the future of Nigeria is in dire straits.
Well, I think on that note, we would like to thank you very much, Osita Chidoka. And we just hope that there will be that critical mass someday that will be courageous enough
Sooner than later.
and patriotic enough to move Nigeria forward. Thank you very much indeed.